My name is Eric Koch. I'm the head of the i3 instrument sector in the EIC and SME agency ISMEA. And it's really a big honor and pleasure for me to welcome more than 100 or almost 100 participants, and almost all from my three instrument projects, many coordinators from projects. I would like to give a few introductory remarks before we dive into the topic of this today webinar. I'd like to mention that we now have 53 running i3 instrument projects, and this represents roughly 224 million euros of EU contribution, which means that we are approaching half of the budget that was allocated initially to the i3 instrument during the 7-year multi-annual framework program of the EU budget. And this webinar today is a first. It's a new thing we do. It's a webinar that is organized by the i3 support facility that we launched in October. And we will have around 12 webinars of this sort in this year, in 2025. I would say it's not a coincidence that we start with such a topic, because I know for some of you and even some of us at the EU, at ISMEA, the detailed budget tables to start with are probably a headache, and we need to understand better how to deal with those tables. But this is only one aspect of the presentations that the slides you will see today. I would like to thank, first of all, the organizers, the i3 support facility that we'll introduce in a moment, consortium led by Technopolis, and also in the consortium is Civita, one of the organizations. I'd like to also thank the speakers that accompany us from my team, obviously, but also Jana Dubiasova from our financial sector team, and Marifa Turova from our communication team, who actually will present the core part of this webinar. A few words on the i3 support facility. So it's a 3-year contract we have signed with the Technopolis Consortium at the end of 2024. I said it in October. So it will last until the end of 2027. And this contract it's composed and was signed by a consortium of very competent service providers. I think that Justina will say a few words about the consortium in a moment. The support facility is really there for you. It's really about boosting the capacity, your capacity, in the creation of interregional innovation ecosystems and investments in smart specialization areas. I mean, these words, of course, you are all beneficiaries of i3 instrument, but you see where we are going to trying to achieve here, also especially to target less developed regions, but not only. And one of the main target groups of this support facility and its services are the i3 instrument beneficiaries, of course, including from less developed regions. But not only, we also will interact a lot with EU regional authorities, managing authorities that deal with the European Regional Development Fund implementation. We want to learn from them also how we can improve the i3 instrument. They want to talk to each other to see how they can better support interregional investments in their regions. And we want to learn also about the implementation of the projects and what we can learn from that. But in addition, another target group is certainly the wider community, all those stakeholders that are interested in the i3 instrument, including applicants that are interested that haven't applied yet, but are interested to apply in the next months and years. And I would like to mention just a few features from this i3 support facility. We have, first of all, in the next months, you will see as an interesting feature the observatory, the i3 instrument observatory, with a nice map and access to plenty of data, including the location of the projects, obviously, but also about the value chains, about the budget allocated, and so on. We'll foresee a matchmaking tool for you also as beneficiaries, but also an interaction possibly with applicants and other stakeholders. There will be a policy lab, discussion groups between regional authorities, mainly talked about the topic about creating ecosystems and creating capacity for interregional investments. And then, of course, the webinars, 12 webinars altogether this year. There will be each more or less, you can imagine, one per month. We'll inform you, I think, at the end about the next foreseen topics, including we will also have some, the support facility will have information services for you and any interesting documentation that is of importance for your project. For that, we are currently building up the IT infrastructure. So you will see a website upcoming in the next weeks or months. As I said, the matchmaking tool will also come. So stay tuned about what's going on. We want also you to give feedback to us. It's very important. So the support facility contractors will be in touch with you, but because we want to learn from you, obviously, about your success stories, about the details of your project, and that you can reach out to a wider audience and tell about your impact. So this will come in the next weeks, and probably you have been contacted already by the consortium. They were asking you probably to sign a data protection notice in order to get in touch with you and to get your details. So the more you are flexible to give you contact details, they can be in touch with you, they can help you. So please react to our emails and approve that the support facility gets your contact details. That was very important for us in order to help you. And finally, there will of course be a newsletter that will keep you updated about the next activities. I think with that, I'll close it here. Yeah, because you're probably very eager now to learn about the details of financial reporting and the communication, tips and tricks from our two colleagues. And I'm handing over back to Justina. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much. I will like to say a few more words. So our consortium is very pleased to work with you on the i3 support facility. And here you can see all of the organizations involved in the support actions of i3 support facility aim to support current and future i3 projects. Today's session is the first of many, with the webinar session scheduled at least once per month in the coming almost 3 years, as Eric mentioned. And we have two speakers today to present their knowledge with you. And I would like to introduce what's coming next. So we would like to invite you to join all our future webinar sessions as well. So the next session scheduled for February 19th. Will cover innovation ecosystem and the quadruple helix. And we hope to invite you to that session as well. If you want to get more news from us, as well as be invited for all of our upcoming events, you can sign up for our newsletter. This QR code opens a very short form in which you can express your interest to be informed about everything we are doing. Also, if you'd like to join i3 discussion groups and contribute to important policy level discussions, please also express your interest. We will also include links in chat, and the materials we present will be also shared with you after the session, so you don't have to rush and take pictures now. Overall, we look forward to seeing you in all of our future activities. We have exciting 3 years ahead of us. And here I would like to finish and give the stage to the first speaker, who will cover the financial aspects. So Tiana Dobasova.
Thank you, Justina. I will just quickly share my presentation. Okay, so I assume it is up now and you will see it.
Yes.
Okay, great. So as presented by Eric and Justina, I am Jana Dubiasheva, and I will today present some pointers, reminders, maybe for somebody pulling new information on the financial rules related to reporting on your projects. Those of you who have participated in the Coordinators Day in March already heard a lot of it, but hopefully there will be some new information for you as well, or you will have the opportunity to ask me any further questions that you might have. I will first point you to the legislative framework and the relevant articles in your grant agreement that relate to periodic reporting and payments. So namely the data sheet first, where you get the summary of all the most important information relating to the financial reporting. And then it's articles 21.2 and 22.3, which are again about the financial reports and the final payment. So firstly, I will kind of remind the general rules, and later on I will then dive into more details of the detailed cost reporting table for you to see again how this table looks, what information we require from you to avoid, let's say, miscommunication in the future. So firstly, the final payment. So in your case, in the currently running at least I3 projects, there's no interim payment. So you received normally, or you will shortly receive, a pre-financing payment of 70% of the maximum grant amount. And it is important to keep in mind that the pre-financing remains property of the EU until the payment of the balance, so until the final payment. The final payment is then normally paid 90 days after the payment request submission. That means after the reception of the periodic report. And it is calculated as the total accepted EU contribution limited to the maximum grant amount with, if applicable, the reduction due to the non-profit rule. The balance is then the final grant amount minus the pre-financing. And if the balance is positive, it will be paid to the coordinator, who needs to, without any unjustified delays, then pay any due amounts to the rest of the consortia. The basic requirements of the periodic report are mainly the financial statements, and I'm speaking about the financial part of the periodic report, just to be clear. It's the financial statements, the detailed cost reporting table, and where applicable, the certificate on the financial statements. So for the reporting, normally the report needs to be submitted 60 days after the end of the reporting period. And the financial statements are generated automatically upon filling in the data in the portal. So you do not have any particular document to fill in. Financial statements are generated automatically, and they are generated both individually for each beneficiary or affiliated entity and as a consolidated financial summary. The detailed cost reporting table, on the other hand, is the famous Excel table that needs to be completed by each beneficiary separately. And contrary to what you have done at the grant agreement preparation stage, where the coordinator had to consolidate all the detailed budget tables, this is not the case for the detailed cost reporting tables. These are just filled in by the beneficiary and uploaded by the beneficiary separately for everyone. We also, you will see basically when you're uploading these documents in the portal, I think they are called there the use of resources report. So do not be confused. The detailed cost reporting table and the use of resources are the same document. And then the certificate on the financial statements. So I will remind you a little bit of the rules for the certificate of the financial statements. So the certificate on the financial statement is only required if the threshold of 325,000 euro of the requested EU contribution is reached at beneficiary level. So basically, when you're filling in your financial statement, there will be calculated the requested EU contribution. And if this amount reaches 300,000 to 325,000 euro, sorry for that, then you will need a certificate on the financial statement. Extremely important, this certificate has to be drawn up using the template published on the portal, the latest template published on the portal. So if your project has just started, there's no use of downloading this template now. You always have to use the latest published template as close to your reporting as possible, of course, considering that you do need some time to have this done by the auditor. Also know that, as explained in your grant agreement, costs related to the drafting and submission of the final report are eligible even if they are incurred after the action duration. This line that is written in your grant agreement also includes the costs of the certificate on financial statement. So in case these costs are incurred after the action duration, they are still eligible and you can still claim them. Now, a bit for the technicalities of the template of the certificate on the financial statements. So there are three parts, which are the terms of reference, the agreed upon procedures checklist, and agreed upon procedures report. All these three parts have to be uploaded as a single PDF. And please but always keep in mind that the terms of reference have to be dated and signed by both the auditor and the beneficiary. The agreed upon procedure has to be signed by the auditor and dated, of course, and the agreed upon procedures checklist also has to be dated and signed by the auditor. So just make sure that whoever you decide to contract for the certificate on the financial statement, they have to always follow exactly the template. Everything has to be dated and signed correctly. Otherwise, it may happen, and it happens fairly often, that we have to return the certificate on financial statements and the auditor has to fill it in again. So it is in your best interest to work very closely with the auditor to be sure that they fill in the template correctly. Also, make sure that they do not fiddle with the template. So it really needs to remain exactly as you download it from the portal. We also see that they delete paragraphs, add paragraphs. We cannot, unfortunately, accept that kind of certificate on financial statement. Before I jump into more details on the detailed cost reporting table, I also wanted to remind you of the article 5.5 on budget flexibility. So keep in mind throughout the duration of your project that the budget breakdown may be adjusted without amendments. This is mainly the case for transfers between participants and budget categories. And we very often get questions as in, what are the amounts, if there is any limit to this, and so on. So the principal rule, as it is again in the grant agreement, is that these changes should not imply any important or any significant changes to the description of the action in Annex 1. This is the main rule to keep in mind. However, we also recommend that if you have big transfers planned or big shifts planned, you always inform your project officer and you more or less agree with them on how to proceed. If you prefer to have everything regularized in the next amendment that you are planning, etc. So it's a little bit case by case basis. But keep in mind this basic rule that as long as there is any change to the description of the action in Annex 1, then you always need an amendment. When it comes to changes in subcontracting, this is again taken from the grant agreement. In principle, they should be regularized by an amendment, but again, there is also a simplified approval that can be done at the final reporting stage. And again, I would say this is mainly upon agreement with your project officer. If you have any doubts, you can always look back to Article 6.2. If there's any specific cost category that needs amendment, it would be written there. in my opinion, it is only subcontracting. I will now jump into the detailed cost reporting table. I will remind you a little bit how this table is structured, how it should be filled in, and I will take you through the different cost categories and what we expect from you in filling in this table. You should not be too scared of this table. I know it is not amazing, and I know it also doesn't function perfectly, but it is very similar to the detailed budget table that you have filled in during the grant agreement preparation stage. It is composed of 4 sheets. So there's an instruction sheet, start, detailed table, and then the consolidated table. So you normally have to follow the sheet one by one in order to not have any technical issues. And to create your detailed cost reporting table. As I said before, you will then submit 1 table per beneficiary as part of the periodic report. It should be uploaded as a single PDF. It says here in the slides, which that we might sometimes request the Excel. It rarely happens. Please always upload a PDF because otherwise it is almost impossible to assess the file. I have never heard of anybody requesting the Excel file, but keep both in case you need to send it via email. It might only happen if there are basically technical bugs in the system and we cannot assess properly in the system. As I said, you will not be asked at coordinator level to create any consolidated file. And please always keep in mind that contrary to the detailed budget table, you do need to provide the actually incurred costs. I know that it is a little bit evident, but we have seen that coordinators would submit basically the detailed budget table again instead of the detailed cost reporting table at reporting stage. This is just a reminder of the different cost categories that apply to I3 projects. And so you will be, if they are applicable to your particular project, you will be asked to fill in information for all of these in the detailed cost reporting table. And I will show you for each category what the detailed cost reporting table looks like. I would also like to, before I go into the cost categories, I would also like to remind you that there is an exchange rate conversion table, basically. So in case the beneficiary's general accounts are established in a currency different than euro, you will have to convert the costs in euro. And in the detailed cost reporting table, you have a link that will help you basically establish the applicable rate. Again, the financial officer that will be assessing your final report will be checking whether the correct rate was applied. So if that applies to you, just check, maybe play with it a little bit before you start, before you need it for the actual reporting so that you're sure that you are using the right rates. So I will start with personal costs as the first cost category that you will be normally reporting on. So how to correctly claim staff costs. How you calculate them is that you multiply the daily rate with the number of day equivalents worked on the action. We understand that this is a little bit of specific lingo. So basically here on this slide, this is all taken from the annotated grant agreement so that you understand what is what. And I urge you to have a look in the annotated grant agreement. I put the page here, page 197, because you have there all different examples of calculation of staff costs for different scenarios. Staff members that work part-time, staff members that work under different rates, etc. So it would be very good if you have a look there, maybe before you start calculating your daily rates. So the daily rate is basically the actual personal costs that were incurred during the months within the reporting period, and they are divided by the maximum declarable day equivalents. What are the maximum declarable day equivalents? It is 215 divided by 12, multiplied by the number of months during which the person is employed within the reporting period. This will then be multiplied also by the working time factor. So 1 if it's full-time, 50% if it's part-time, etc., etc. The 215 here is the horizontal ceiling for a person to be able to work under an EU-funded project. So you need to pay attention to this. You cannot be declaring more for a person or a staff member than this 215 declarable day equivalents. Then the daily rate, this question also comes up a lot. So in general, it is calculated per person and for the reporting period. However, it is possible to be reporting it and calculating it separately for each calendar year, if that is easier for your project, which in your case, it might be, of course. In that case, if you decide to report personal costs calculated per calendar year, you have to do this consistently for all the staff members in the beneficiaries detailed cost reporting table. So this is what the left part of the table looks like regarding personnel costs. It is important that you report in the right category of staff, of course. You should not change the daily rate into anything else. If you have the possibility, you have to report in daily rates. This is based on the annotated grant agreement. And then you just simply enter the calculated rate and the time worked on the action, so the days worked on the action. You may see here also that, as I said, because the costs are reported per person, you will always need to include the name of the person and make sure that one line is one person. The left side of the project is then all the other details. I will be fully honest with you. The second part of the table, of course, the more information you provide, the less issues or the less information you will then have to provide to a potential auditor. So this is mainly for auditors. What we would like to see here is mostly the description and the tasks, which can be completely copy-pasted from what you have already filled in before if something hasn't changed, either from your description of action or technical part of the report or from the detailed budget table that you had at the GAP preparation. We do not necessarily go into other details at our level as in AISMEA financial officers. Very often we are asked what should be, for example, the accounting reference here. What we see a lot, and we accept it on our side, is that we do not look necessarily for specific invoice numbers, but basically, if you just encode, let's say, the name of the system that you are using to keep track of these things, etc., or whatever is your accounting system and so on, you can just put the name. So what I have seen, for example, was SAP and so on. For us, as I say, at the AISMEA level, this will be acceptable. You might be requested more details in case you are audited in the future. I will now jump to subcontracting costs. So in this case, the beneficiary must provide evidence that the principle of best value for money, transparency, and equal treatment has been respected when selecting suppliers. The beneficiary must avoid any conflict of interest. And in case you're a public body, then you need to follow national rules on procurement. Private entities have to follow their own rules and procedures. as I know that your projects can be very technically specific, we have seen that you have chosen your subcontractors based, for example, on established commercial relationships with the subcontractor or very specific technical expertise. This is also possible. It is just that, again, you might be asked about it if you are being audited. The subcontracting costs look like this. Here, the left side of the table and the right side are under each other, so you see it all in one slide. It is not very complicated. You just need to put the name of the subcontract. Here, you may want to include invoices unless you have million of them. And you put the amount. Again, in the right part of the table, for us, what is important when we are assessing the report is some details, and basically details that allow us to verify that the subcontracting costs were planned at the grant agreement preparation stage. So it should be a very similar description to what was planned, so that we can identify any unplanned subcontracting, because otherwise we will for sure ask you for these details. So it is good to make sure that we are able to identify the subcontracting from what was planned. If it was not planned, you can always obviously claim it, and then it will be subject to the project officers and the financial officers' approval. You may have also, maybe I will say it here as well, you may have also agreed with the project officer, of course, that you would not make an amendment, and that, let's say it's a very small amount, so you will only include it in the report. It will always be good if you write it directly here in the description, the agreement with the PO, so that we can just quickly verify and we don't need to come back to you for more details. Now I will jump to travel costs. So purchase of travel accommodation and subsistence, as written on the slide, must be justified, necessary under the action, preferably planned in the description of the action, supported by the relevant documents, and made following the usual practice of the beneficiary. However, these need to be calculated as unit costs for the reporting. I'm sure most of you have already looked into what the unit costs look like during the grant agreement preparation stage. So this is mostly a reminder that the calculations for travel costs are made on the basis of the distance between the departure and the arrival point. And here we are talking city departure and city arrival. It cannot be just country, because, you know, if we imagine Turkey is a very big country, you might have different distance bands that would apply to a flight. So you always have to be very specific. Accommodation and subsistence are then rates that are fixed per each country. And actual incurred costs are also possible for travel and subsistence, however, only in very particular travel instances that are not covered by the Commission decision. On the next slide, you will see some examples of the travel instances that are not covered by the Commission decision, meaning that these would actually be calculated or reported as actual costs. Here we're talking, for example, about travels between 50 kilometers and 399 kilometers in a third country. We're talking about travels within the same distance, but between a member state and a third country. And we are talking about land travel between 50 and 399 kilometers in Luxembourg, Cyprus, and Malta. So, for example, if you have a travel within these three exceptions, then you would be reporting them as actually incurred costs. That being said, you will see that this is, again, what it looks like in the detailed cost reporting table when you are reporting travel costs. It is very important that you report in the correct column. So the first column is for actual costs. And as I said, it is possible that you will be reporting actual costs. However, 95% of the travels normally will be reported as unit costs. And so you need to be sure that you're reporting them in the second column. Here, as you can imagine, because we are verifying whether you are using the correct applicable rates, we need in the description column any details that basically help us identify the correct rate, which means, so again, the city of departure, the city of arrival. If you do not put the city of departure, we assume that it is the city where the organization is based. This is for your information. The number of staff traveling, the number of days or nights spent, and the means of transport were relevant, meaning that there are travels within Europe where we might question whether you're traveling by train or by flight. So it is better, again, to inform us in advance so that we don't have to come back to you for this information. Then obviously, if you're flying here from Athens, we will assume that it's a flight and it is more obvious. So we would not be necessarily asking for more details. When it comes to equipment cost, please keep in mind that these costs always have to be reported as depreciation costs, and they are calculated based on actually incurred costs and written off according to your usual accounting practices. Also, keep in mind that only the portion of the costs that actually corresponds to the use for the action during the action duration can be claimed. So in case your project is 36 months and we see that you're depreciating 42 months, we will be questioning this and you will have to change the information in your detailed cost reporting table and the claimed amounts. Costs for renting and leasing equipment are also eligible, however, only if they are not higher than depreciation costs of similar equipment. This being said, you will see that when you look at the equipment part of the detailed cost reporting table, this is divided into, let's say, two subcategories, and that is purchase of equipment and rental or leasing of equipment. So again, just pay attention to where you need to report so that there are no ambiguities or uncertainties in this. And I show you again the second part of the table, which I will say the same as for subcontracting. The most important information for us is the description here so that we are able to match it to what was planned at the grant agreement preparation or any other amendment. The rest of the information, if you put it better, if you are not 100% sure, etc., it is mostly for auditors, and we do not necessarily question all the details that you provide in that part. One of the last cost categories is other goods, works, and services. Here, again, if you've budgeted for consumables, conferences, or any other category that falls within this table, you will be reporting them here. Also note that this is where you will be reporting potentially also the costs incurred by auditing, by doing the CFS, the Certificate on Financial Statements. So this would be where you report these costs as well. Please here, I would just urge you, if you are, for example, claiming costs for consumables, and if the amounts are high, because again, in your particular projects, they can be very technical, you buy a lot of very technical consumables, so the amounts can be very high. We would ask you to, again, in the details, provide short description or the list of the main items, etc. Do not just write consumables, because this is what we very often see, that you claim under consumables, but you describe it as consumables. That's not enough if it is 100,000 euros. So we need to see a little bit more details and maybe see if, again, this was planned within the grant agreement preparation or the subsequent amendments. The last cost category that is applicable here is financial support to third parties. So financial support to third parties is eligible if these are payments made by the beneficiary to the third parties. They're declared in your case as actual costs. And again, these need to be incurred based on objective and transparent selection procedure of the recipients. And the maximum amount for each third party or recipient is limited to 60,000 euro. A very important thing for the reporting is that you need to list the FSDP recipients and the amounts that they received in the dedicated tab that you have in the portal. So please do not forget about that, because if you do not list these recipients and we cannot check the amounts, we will have to again return the report to you for correction. I would say here it's not very tricky. Again, you just encode basically the recipient and the amount they received. And in the details, I would say, again, you can copy paste from the description. If you had a detailed description of the FSTP before in the detailed budget table, you can copy paste it here. We just need to be able to link it. And again, if there is something that was not envisaged in the grant agreement preparation or in amendments, then you can again flag it here. If you flag that this was not foreseen but is agreed with the project officer, it will be easier for us to verify, and we might not have to come back to you for more clarifications. The last part of the table is indirect costs and the EU contribution, which looks like this. So the indirect costs are a flat rate that is calculated as 7% of the other cost categories. And the income part of the table, you have to fill in the requested EU contribution. An important thing that is very often a mistake, please just make sure that the requested EU contribution in this part of the table, this green part, matches whatever is in the financial statements. Very often the differences are big for whatever reason. So it would be very good that you verify just before submitting, so that, again, this is not the reason that you have to rework the table. On my last slide, I have tried to link all the useful documents, starting with the annotated grant agreement, which I really encourage you to go to this document in case you have any questions. And if you don't know, if you don't find answers there, you can, of course, always contact your project officer with project-specific questions, and they will contact us for any possible clarifications that we can provide. The last link is the link to the templates on the portal. So this will direct you to the templates of the detailed cost reporting table and the certificate on financial statements. Just know that basically when you open this link, it opens this kind of generic page. Unfortunately, I cannot go directly in the relevant documents and link them here. So I put here that the navigation is then that you have to go to templates and forms and the project reporting templates. And so you will find the latest versions there. That is everything from me, and I am ready for your questions.
Thank you so much. We have quite a few questions in chat, so maybe we can start from the top. So first question is from Hilda, and the question is, where can we find the template of the detailed cost reporting table?
Okay, so as I just said, it is you have it as the very last link on the previous slide, so you will find it in the presentation that I assume will be shared with you.
Yes. The second question is, if reporting period is 24 months, not 12, then we have to calculate for 2 years different daily rates. That with a question mark at the end.
Exactly. So in this case, you can either make the calculation for the whole period, it is possible, but we have seen very often that in this case, beneficiaries opt for a calendar year calculation. So then it's up to you what you find easier. Again, I encourage you to go into the annotated grant agreement because I think it does provide examples like this on how to calculate concretely.
Okay, and I suppose this also answers Andrei from HealthChain, your question as well. Probably yes. There's a next question is from David. Is that possible to ship costs from employee to staff under direct contract without going through amendment? And does the rule of 215 days a year also apply to people under direct contract?
Yes, so the rule, I will start from the back. The rule of 215 days applies to any staff member, indeed. And yes, the shift is possible. As I say, it is a little bit up to your consideration and your agreement that you have with your project officer as well to see whether all these changes have to be, for example, discussed with the project officer. If it's a minor change, for me, from my perspective as a financial officer, it does not need an amendment. And in case the amounts are big and the differences are big, we will only ask a justification when you submit the final report. You provide one-line justification why this happened, and it should be fine for us.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Catherine. In our grant agreement, it is referred with the blueprint that we have to use the I3 model grant agreement version 1, but here you indicate that we have to use Horizon Europe model grant agreement.
Oh, I don't know where I referred to Horizon Europe grant agreement.
Catherine,
I don't remember
are you here?
that
Can
I
you
would.
clarify?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So we asked this from the project officer, and we got a reply back, and then we got this model grant agreement, which was different because the I3 model grant agreement has a bit different structure and content. So basically, we have two guidelines. So it's a bit confusing which one we have to then follow, just to understand. Because the I3 that the I3 one is the RDF model grant agreement for the micro and projects. It was version 1.0 that we have to follow. This is in our grant agreement, but the one that was sent with our project officer, it's different. And it's the same that you repair here, because they're also like the calculation method that is different for the staff costs and etc. So do we have to follow the one that you suggest here or the one that we have in our grant agreement?
So Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a difference between model grant agreement and the annotated grant agreement.
Yeah, indeed. So the annotated grant agreement is actually valid for all EU funding programs, and it actually will mention specificities, in the different sections, whereas the model grant agreement is really customized to the funding program, so the I3 instrument. So I don't know. I guess that the EU project officers send you the annotated grant agreement. This is the general one. But we can perhaps update the last slide with the links, and perhaps also add, actually, there is on the portal, on the EU Funding and Tenders portal, there is a section where you have all the I3 instrument customized and relevant templates in one section. I think this would be the best, I guess, to have a look at there. It is clear for you, or?
Yes, thank you. We will look once more the reference, and then I guess we can come back to our project officer if needed.
Super, thank you.
Great. Then the next question is from Petra from InShape. There is a total currency column. Does it mean the conversion is made automatically by the tab?
Yes, so basically when you go on the link to check the exchange rate, you then put the exchange rate in the table on top of, basically on very top of your detailed cost reporting table, you will put the applicable exchange rate. And then it is calculated automatically throughout the table. This exchange rate is used, this is correct. And I forgot to say, and I think this is very important, that exchange rate losses are not eligible. So just also keep that in mind.
Sorry, just for clarification, does that mean that the actual currency through the whole reporting period should be coming from the platform and from the link that you provide, and we not automatically get into the detailed table, but that's the first thing that we are putting there and add there, and afterwards that the same and one currency number will be used by multiple times for all the automatic calculations.
Exactly. So first, when you open your detailed cost reporting table, you will go on the link. You will put there the whole reporting period that you need the exchange rate for. It will generate it for you, or basically, it will calculate it for you. And then you will put this exchange rate that you see on the link then to your detailed cost reporting table. And this one is then used throughout the whole table.
And sorry, one more question as regards that in case if we have in local currency and in euro as well, we have spent costs. Then in the other case, if we have it in euro, we just use the euro, and we do not need to like double make the rating a double and then the conversion.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Thank you.
If we can move to the next question. So as an event organizer, as project coordinators, we paid the catering for all the people who attended the event kickoff meeting. A cost we want to include in our report as an eligible cost. However, attendees also have the right to claim sustenance cost based on unit costs. This implies that these meals are being paid for twice. How should we proceed? Are both costs eligible?
So I will be fully honest with you. This is a little bit tricky one because it seems that there are different interpretations for this from different commission bodies, because I know, and I don't know if it was the case of one of you, but I know that there was a certain line for operating grants for some organizations. The way we see it is that you can claim catering costs under other direct costs if they are eligible under Article 6.2 and under the general eligibility conditions. And in case of the subsistence costs of the individual participants, our understanding would be that the subsistence cost should be claimed based on the usual practice of the beneficiary, meaning that if outside of an EU-funded project, you go to an event where lunch is provided, if a per diem would be paid to you by your organization, then it is eligible. If it would not be paid to you by your organization, then it is not eligible. I hope this clarifies.
Hi, sorry, but in our case, our organization would pay us the dinner, but not the lunch. So they would pay us kind of like half of those subsistence costs. So again, how should we proceed? Thank you.
I will be honest with you, I am not 100% sure. I would recommend that you send this question to your project officer, because I'm afraid that in any case, we will have to look into this. It may not be just up to our interpretation. So just to be sure that we provide clear answer, I recommend that this comes in written and we take proper time to look at it and reply in writing.
Okay, well, she's already informed, and I believe
Okay.
she got in touch with all of you, but we will wait for your final answer then. Thank
Okay,
you very
thank you.
much. Thank you.
Yeah, I think if I can intervene, I think thanks, Jana, and you're right in being cautious about this because, you know, as we are a relatively new funding instrument, there are still these details where we need to sometimes even agree still with our financial colleagues. So what I suggest is I will be in touch with our head of sector financial for the financial unit. And then we'll come back to all the coordinators. That's the best.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. So the next question is about the most updated document to rely on for unit costs for travel accommodation and subsistence. Is it Commission's decision C 2024-5405?
It is linked on the slide, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the number, but it is linked on the slide with the amendment. Normally, also when you go to the Annex 2A in your grant agreement, it will guide you to the latest information that is relevant for your project. So you can always find it through Annex 2A, which is linked to the latest information for your project.
Good. And then further, there's another question. In case of travels detailed information, one line per cost means one travel, sum of all persons for all days, or per person?
No, it doesn't have to be per person. It can be, if it's 5 staff members from one organization, it can be for all of them combined. Only make sure that the information that you provide in the description then matches the amounts and the units that you are requesting. So, you know, if it's, I don't know, 5 people, 2 nights, then make sure that 10 units appear for accommodation, for example. Just very simple cross-check of the information so that we don't again have to come back and say, you know, you said 5 here, but then you request something else. So just to be sure that it is clear.
That's clear, thanks. And it also means that in the description we do not need to provide the numbers of the not the numbers, the name of the person who were participating.
No, you don't.
Thanks.
The next question is from Victoria, and I can answer this. Yes, we will send you all the materials shown today during the presentation. Should any of the speakers would like to adjust to include more links, we might not send it immediately, but as soon as we have them, we will send it all to you. We can move on. So Matthias' question, when we need to create this reporting table every 12 months, please mention also other reportings needed.
Eric, I will leave this one to you.
Other reportings in the sense, I mean, there's, as you know, if there's only one, reporting period, then because there's such a long time before we can get an update from you, we would require sometimes, but this you have to look in your project details, a progress report. A progress report, which doesn't mean that you have to fill in financial statements in detail. This comes only with the formal end of the reporting period, but more a technical update where you stand. And this is mainly in exchange with the product officer, less so with the financial officer. So please check in your deliverables when the progress report is due. Okay, so this is for this you need to be in touch with your PO. There have been changes in the past, and also in the successive calls we have done, the grant agreements, let's say, the requirements have changed. So I cannot give you now a straight answer. It depends on your report, on your deliverables table. So have a look at these progress tables when they are due.
Is it clear or more clarification is needed? Let's try to rush through the other questions just so we have to move on. Oh, increased revenues during the project, how are they considered? For example, producing and selling green hydrogen.
This is very project specific. I recommend you to contact your project officer because this will be different for each project. So I think this should be dealt with in writing or an ad hoc meeting for your project.
Okay, then do you need to make an amendment to change the equipment budget to leasing?
I would say I answered this before, but again, I would say from my perspective as financial officer, normally no, unless this is very important part of, again, the description of action in Annex 1, which again will depend on what kind of equipment or what kind of project you have. But I would say again, if it's higher amounts, I would always check with the project officer just to be sure.
Great, then Hilda asks about the correct template and showed a few examples. Maybe Hilda, can you specify your question?
Yes, I went to the tenders portal and then I see a number of templates, but I think Eric in the meantime sent the link to the the i3 template. So I think my question is solved.
Okay, thank you so much. Then we can move forward. So what are the relevant documents that needed to justify travel? Flight tickets, do we also need to have signature lists?
So the general rule for the travel costs now is that you need to be able to justify the number of units. In principle, you don't have to keep any receipts or anything like that. If, for example, you are on a participants list of an event, that's an easy way to justify basically any travel costs. So just keep in mind that it's not necessary that you have to keep all receipts, etc., but you have to be able to prove the number of units that you are requesting.
Okay, Int, does that answer your question at least partially as well, or?
No, unfortunately, this doesn't answer my question.
Can you then explain your question?
My question is about, for example, if we are working with these outermost regions, then in this case, we are having the flight calculation from Brussels to Tenerife, for example, and there is this fixed amount or whatever, Guadeloupe, it doesn't matter which this outermost region. This is for the first day event. Okay, we have these travel calculations clear. We are using this table, fine. But if during the meeting we have to change the islands, we have to fly from Tenerife, I don't know, to Fuerteventura, where we are having the fair and conference, and then back to Fuerteventura and then back to Brussels, how these travel costs are calculated in this case?
Again, I will not make you very happy, but I will direct you to the annotated grant agreement because this is explained there again, how to calculate travel costs with stopovers. And if you are not sure, after you have a look there, again, try to contact your project officer. We will be able to help you if you are thinking in the right direction. But I would, and I apologize for that, but I would like to avoid that we go into this sort of project specificities because then we would spend 2 hours on everybody's travels.
Jana, just one
Thank you.
compliment to that is that we could perhaps remind coordinators and beneficiaries that there is a let's say a non-horizon, meaning i3 instrument and single markup program customized guide. I think it's a 10-page document that has been prepared by actually Jana's financial sector. And I wonder whether we could perhaps resend it to all coordinators that with some examples. And I'm sure that round trips or stopovers are might be mentioned there. I cannot confirm, but let's make sure we send this guide to the coordinators.
Okay, since we are running over time currently and we're taking time from the next speaker, my suggestion would be we will record all of the questions and we will share all of the remaining unanswered questions with the speaker. And together with the materials, we can share answers from the speaker to the questions which have not yet been answered. Sorry to cut this short. There were a lot of questions, but we would also like to give a word to Marie, who will now cover the topic on the communication of I3 projects. Sorry again, but we will make sure to answer all of your questions that you've asked here.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Sini. Welcome everyone. I would like now to share some information on the communication aspects of the grant. Yes, so for many of you, this will be in fact a little bit of a refreshment because normally we always cover this communication aspect in the kickoff meetings. So first, I would like to just make a little introduction for or like repetition what you know, and secondly, I would like to also touch the point of what to do when you are ending the project, because many of you actually are quite progressed with the implementation of the project. So that will be the other part. So first thing, sorry, I can move that. Excuse me. Got a little bit stuck here. Just give me a moment, please. Okay, so first, like what are the communications rule? Like just a quick refresher. So as you know, like you have some obligations, and I would like to highlight that these obligations don't end up with the end of the project. So, for example, you still need to acknowledge the EU funding if you are talking about your project. If you are, you need to put the EU flag like on your project if it's like something physical. Of course, if you are producing gadgets with your own company, that's a different thing. Yeah, but the project has been funded by the European Union, so it should stay like that. Then you have to provide accurate data. I will come in more detail to that in a moment. You need to respect the GDPR, which is the data protection, and you need to promote the results. So first is the famous EU logo or EU flag. You need to acknowledge the EU funding, and you need to fully spelled out the name of the European Union. You cannot just say funded by EU, by the EU. That's not possible. As you might know, we are not using the European Commission logo. European Commission logo, it's really for the European Commission. You are just acknowledging that you've got money from the European Union, so you are using the flag. Second thing, it's the accuracy of the data. So again, you are responsible for what you are saying. We are not responsible. So although we somehow agree that you are saying accurate data, please don't forget this disclaimer that on your, for example, on your website, etc., or in some brochure, if you have any, that these views and opinions are yours, not of the European Commission or of the European Union. GDPR compliance, this is like a big file, of course, like it's the data protection. So again, like this applies for you even if you are at the end of your project. Basically, it says that data that you are gathering should not be reused. It can be used only for one specific purpose, and you need to inform the stakeholders if these data are used in another way or if you are transferring them. Then we are getting like to the results of the project. So now it's really important to communicate what you have achieved. Yeah, as you know, the results are yours. The ownership is yours. However, we can collaborate. You can let us know if you have some tangible results, and we can use your results. We can distribute them. We can translate the articles you publish, for example, in the web, or we can edit them. What is really important to say is that your results can continue to be impactful beyond your project's lifetime. I mean, I believe that now it's really the moment when you have the most amount of information you can communicate. So don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Okay. So how can we actually help? So we can help with dissemination. Of course, we cannot help with communication, meaning that we will not help you to design your strategy or define like your audience, etc. This is something we discussed in the previous meetings, but we can help you to spread your message through the European Union networks. So you can reach out to us anytime. Even if you end the project, you can still come back to us if you have something that you would that you think it's worth sharing via these channels. So what are the channels? What to share important things? So please involve us, especially if you have a project that have a major media impact. I know, for example, about Eurotext project that is cooperating with BBC. So this is something that absolutely we are happy to share with our audiences. Or if the project is of strategic importance, or if it's about certain, it has some certain financial value, meaning like you get, for example, additional investment, or you are able like to hire additional or like a significant number of people. This is all what is interest of our interest. So where are we for the moment? Very engaged. So we are still on social media, clearly. We remain very active on LinkedIn and also on X. However, I would like to say that I don't know what is your experience, but our is that X Twitter X platform really shows quite a big decline in engagement. So we are moving more or focusing more our activities on LinkedIn at the moment. You can follow us, share the stories. You have the channels we use listed here. For IZMEA, it's, as I said, mainly LinkedIn. Then we are on X. We are not at Blue Sky yet, but this is under discussion. And you can also reach out to us if you have something more general for more general audience, and we can share via our colleagues that are in charge of the Enterprise Europe network. Then there are EU platform like EU core platform. So for us, it's mainly the ISMEA website where we are sharing news items. So that's quite a good opportunity for you to announce, for example, as I mentioned, investment, or even if you have a success story to share some successes of your project. This can be, we can even promote your events, not always. Yeah, it depends, like on the impact, on how big this event is, etc. But if you need like a special boost, like on our website, and you think like it makes sense, please come back to us, and we will try to help you to promote your events. And as I mentioned, there are projects listing. So so this is the website. The other thing, Eric already mentioned it at the beginning, is the I3 Support Facility website, that it's now in the pipeline, and it will be online hopefully quite soon. In the meantime, you will find all the information regarding the I3 Support Facility on I3 Instrument website. Yeah, so there will be it will be added one more section, and for the moment, for the time being, before the new website will be built, you find the information here. The next thing, it's really like keep in touch, as you might know, your main contact point reminds the project or your project officer or project advisor. If you have anything you would like to share with us on the social media, please tag us. If you think it's not enough, you can always drop us a message via the social media. And of course, we have also a lot of functional mailbox for your questions. So please let me know if there are any questions. I, for the moment, don't see them, but I will come back.
Thank you so much, Marie. I see we have at least one question. So the question is from Victoria from CESAM Project. Do you have a contact email for dissemination of important information in EU networks and digital platforms, or shall we directly tag ISMEA on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook?
Now I have to. So the question is about the contact, yeah?
Victoria, if you're here, you can speak up.
I guess you already answered that right after I put
Okay.
the question.
All
so
right.
I don't know if it's the email that was shown on the last slide. It's the one that you mentioned. Maybe I just copy pasted it right now. So
Yeah, the presentation will be shared with you, so you will get
Okay.
the information. I will also correct the typos before that. Sorry for that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Victoria. Next question is from Katerina. And is it enough to use a related hashtag for EU funding, or should we use a more extended text or phrase?
The best hashtag for using is the I3 instrument hashtag. So hashtag I3 instrument. I will also add it to the presentation, so you have it in one package.
Great. Then the question is from Marta. Does the I3 program have a specific communications and disseminations guidelines that projects should follow, similar to those in programs like Horizon Europe?
It's the same. I mean, it's very similar. So really, your main obligation is to use the EU flag, the emblem, and then the rules I mentioned. Yeah, so it's the data protection, the disclaimer of accuracy. What you do in communication, your project itself, you are free, and we are here really just more as support to disseminate your message.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? If we do, feel free to raise your hand and speak up. We have a couple more minutes.
Justina, perhaps if there's
Yes.
no more question, it's the good moment for me to also present you one of my team members that is crucial in the i3 support facility setup, and which will be you might meet and cross path in the next months. And this is Maya Felling. I think it would be great if you could quickly present yourself, and because you are the main project officer for the i3 support facility.
Hello, everybody.
Maya.
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everybody. First of all, also thank you, organizers, for this kickoff event. Let's say one of the first 12 events that we'll organize this year, and also thanks to all of you that have participated in this meeting in such a big number. Of course, also thanks to Jana and Marie for their presentations. As Eric mentioned, yes, I am from the EISMEA side, monitoring, let's say, the implementation of this i3 support facility for the next little bit less now than 3 years. And we are now still in the process of setting up the proper website and a platform where all the information in detail will be shared. So bear with us. Right now, we are still in the, let's say, beginning period where we are still setting up everything, but soon we will start working with the full speed. And if you have any questions regarding the i3 support facility, I think Justina shared at the beginning also the email address where you can send all your questions. But let's say, so basically, yes, Technopolis and Civitas and other organizations from the contractor side will be the ones who will be also contacting you, who will be also answering your questions and communicating with you in the future. That's shortly from my side. Looking forward for the cooperation.
Right.
Thank you so much, Maya. Indeed, we're very happy to have you and Eric so supporting us in here. And once again, before we leave, our colleague Simona is sharing the link to the discussion groups to register, and as well to register to our events and newsletters. So you have them here, and the links will also be included in the materials we will share with you. We are excited to have you all here, and we hope to see all of you and even more of you in our next session at the second half of February, where we will discuss other topics, and we will be sure to present the upcoming webinars this year for you as soon as possible. Thanks from us, from the i3 support facility. Thank you to the Commission. Thank you to the speakers, and thank you all, and see you soon.
Justina, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.